Alright, so I know this video is going to look like we just arrived in this hotel, but no, actually this is day 2. Alright, here at our quarantine hotel, which if you're wondering is the executive hotel at Vancouver Airport. So yeah, the reason is by the time we got into the hotel, we were just so tired, really hungry because it took so long that we skipped lunch. We couldn't have time for lunch, so we got back, we ordered food, we had to sleep. We were really tired, so it's the second day now, and so now we can finally talk about the entire process. So you saw at the start, we left Singapore from our apartment all the way to the airport, the flight. So the first flight was from Singapore to Incheon in Korea, and that was actually not bad.
It was good, yeah. It was about 6 hours. We flew Singapore Airlines.
Yeah.
The flight was very pleasant. There were no bumps.
Yeah, it was a smooth ride, although the seats were pretty small. The other thing is we paid for premium economy. No, we paid for premium economy, but we didn't have premium economy for the flight from Singapore to Incheon and SIA, only the flight from Incheon to Vancouver. Alright, so the seats were really tiny, but overall, ride was pleasant, stewardesses were pleasant.
Yeah. Food was good.
Food was pretty good. I have a theory. I think because they're cooking much smaller portions than what they did before, so maybe that's why it tastes better. I'm not sure.
I had like Korean beef congee, and
it was surprisingly good.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm not a fan of congee, but it was okay. Yeah. To talk more about the entire process, so we've got to the airport in Singapore. They basically checked all our documentation, our swab test as well. It wasn't too long. It was okay. They just checked all our documents, make sure it was okay. Also our approval to leave or to enter Canada, because the only people now that are allowed to enter Canada are students, Canadians going back home, and there are some like compassionate reasons as well. But so we just checked all documentation, was pretty fast, went into the departure area.
Which was empty.
It was empty, totally empty. There was one spot that was open, so we had a coffee, had breakfast.
At Encik Tan.
Encik Tan, yes. And then after that, went to the departure gate for a flight, entered Incheon, and yeah, we couldn't really go anywhere. It was just one to the other. So we just had a walk, and we actually got a bit confused. We got a bit lost because there's not a lot of stuff around. So.
And there were no directional signs.
Yeah.
Or the directional signs were confusing. It will point you, like for transfers, it would point you into one direction, and the exit will point you to another direction.
Oh, no, not just that, but the transfer signs were there. It was kind of clear on a normal day. Yes, but all the areas were cordoned off, so we didn't know where to go. And so we had to just follow this really long line. And a lot of this, I didn't shoot because I wasn't sure if I was allowed to film in that area, so we didn't film. But it was okay. We went to another area. They checked our luggage again. Went to the departure gate. Waited about an hour, I think.
2 hours.
Oh no, 2 hours. So we went to Dunkin'.
Yeah, Dunkin' Donuts.
Yes. Okay, so anyway, after we went to Dunkin's, we went to the departure gate. Didn't wait too long. Went into the flight. We were a little surprised. We were hoping for a bigger plane, but the plane was small.
Yeah,
right?
It's a Boeing 787 Series 9.
Yeah, I actually thought 787 series planes were bigger, but yeah, it was pretty small. But then it was the opposite. This time round, because it's premium economy, my chair was it wasn't like super comfortable, but it was a lot bigger than the one at SIA.
And it seems like, I guess also because the aircraft the design seems old.
Yeah,
so
it seemed a lot older.
So it looks like, older in the past, like seats were wider and you could like recline or seat much.
Yeah. But it was alright. Food again was decent.
Yeah.
One thing to note, I was actually pretty confident that we would get Wi-Fi on the flight, and I didn't read it properly.
Yeah.
It turns out that yes, there is Wi-Fi on the flight, but you have to pay for it. It's like the cheapest was like 9 Canadian for an hour, and it's really, really slow internet. The funny thing was in SIA, we didn't have any information that we would have Wi-Fi, but there was, and we had 1 hour complimentary, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But that also meant that on our Canada flight, which I wanted to post stuff, on our Instagram, and yes, go follow us on our Instagram, but we couldn't post anything. So that was a 10-hour flight. But again, relatively comfortable. I don't do flights really well.
It was a bit bumpy.
Yes, there were certain areas where there was quite a bit of turbulence, but not to the point where the whole plane moves up and down. It was just a bit shaky. Actually, the flight was fine, even though it was a total of 16 hours. It was fine. And when we got to Vancouver Airport, we thought like that's it, we are done. We spent 16 hours on the plane and we spent 4
I think
hours
also 4 hours
in
in the
immigration.
airport.
Yeah. So we have to explain a few things. So there are quite a few steps. So the first one was your usual immigration check. What did they check again?
Yeah, so they call it the CBSA, Canadian Border Services Agency, I think. So that's the first. Once you enter that area, you have to go to a machine. You have to scan your passport, like indicate like what permit you're under. But unfortunately, James' passport wasn't working.
No, it's not that my passport was working. Singapore passports for some reason aren't compatible with the system.
Yeah,
The
Philippine
G's
passport
one was fine.
okay.
Yeah.
So we had to do it manually. We had to fill that in, and then had to fill the customs declaration. In the customs declaration, if you have like shipments arriving on a different date, like basically shipments that are not with you in that flight, you have to declare that.
Yep.
And if you are bringing like meat product.
Yeah. So we actually bought some stuff for people that we know in Calgary. If you're Singaporean and you know what bakwa is, yes, we bought some like bakwa, like bite-sized bakwa stuff, and they all got confiscated.
Yeah.
So
So
lost
that-
everything,
Yeah. So that was the first phase.
and that took about 2 hours.
2.5, yeah,
Or
about
2.5,
2 hours,
yeah.
So there was a long queue, and you could understand it because at this point the immigration officers are checking like every group usually have like a
Stack of
5
papers. And not
Yeah.
just that, they are like, I think there were like 15 counters, but there were only like 5
5
immigration officers.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's no need to have it full because there are very few flights. It just so happened that when we arrived, there were like 3 or 4 other flights that arrived at the same time. So we were pretty unlucky. I don't know if we were unlucky or that's how they planned it. But when it comes, you get like 3-4 flights at the same time. So that coupled with the fact that everyone has a stack of documents that they need to show,
documents,
it took a long time.
Yeah, so for us, so I'm on a study permit, James is on an open work permit. They only ask for the PCR test, for the approval letters, they didn't even ask for the entire quarantine plan. They just asked
No,
for
but they
the-
asked for the confirmation for the hotel.
for the hotel, for the Vancouver hotel.
Mm-mm.
They didn't ask for the
Calgary, no.
Calgary, didn't they?
Yeah, they didn't ask.
Yeah, so it's just that the guy was it's very fast. I just had to check.
Your
the
experience,
face.
your experience might differ.
Yes, definitely.
Because it depends on the immigration officer. I'm sure they were supposed to check a lot of things. Maybe the guy didn't check, or maybe the process has changed.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, but I guess our suggestion is just be prepared with
Bring
all the
everything you need.
documents that you need, and just be confident in answering the questions of the officers.
So after that, after we went through the first stage, the second stage was to actually collect our permit. So G had to collect a student permit. I had to collect my open work permit.
Before that, we had to get our luggage first.
Yes, we had, and by the time we got it, like our luggages were the only one left on the belt. Because when we got out of the plane, we both needed to use the restroom, which was it was a mistake and not a mistake at the same time. A mistake because by the time we both got out of the restroom, it was
Queue
really
was
full.
very
Otherwise,
long.
we would have been in front. But at the same time, the queue was so long that
If we didn't go
to
to
the
the
toilet, it might have been a disaster. I don't know. Actually, we could have taken turns, but anyway, it's done. Got our
luggages, and then after that, we
Open
went
work
to
permit,
a room where there's a lot of people to collect our open work, our permits.
Yeah, the thing was, we found it surprising was that they're all talking about like social distancing, but they made us sit like right next to people, and they basically crowded us in this too. And I didn't shoot because I wasn't sure if I was allowed to shoot there. But yeah, so I mean, it's fine, I guess. Not a big deal. Everyone there, if you're there, you probably already got a negative
Got
test.
swabbed.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be there in the first place.
Yeah.
So we weren't too worried. So that took another 2 hours.
Oh yeah, almost 2 hours. I
Almost 2
think.
hours,
Yeah,
yeah.
there were only 3 officers there,
Yeah,
and
free.
there was one lady.
And about 20 counters. Yeah.
There was one lady who was collecting the passports like every 30 minutes.
Yeah, every time. But she collected an entire stack of passports. So what they do is that they take an entire stack, they bring it back, they process everything, and then they release it in stacks as well.
Yeah.
I think pre-COVID, there was a queuing system because they had
Probably.
the panels on top to show like queue numbers and all that. So I guess it's different now.
Yeah, so they processed student permit, work permit, and even PR. So we would hear like, "Congratulations, you are now a permanent resident of Canada."
Yeah. So that took a long time, and then
And then just a funny thing because a lot of the people there were Asian, so like Asian names. So sometimes if you're not familiar with Asian names, it's difficult to pronounce it. So the officers were very resourceful. So they would ask like, we need some friends from Hong Kong, we need some friends from Korea, and they would ask them to read out
the
loud.
names. Yeah.
So that was very resourceful.
Yeah, and I mean, if you're there waiting for your permit, you're not gonna say no.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so that was done, and then we walked out. And then there was the agricultural check where we lost all our gifts for our Calgarian friends. I'm so sorry.
So what we did is we put all the food in just one bag so that it's easier to retrieve it instead of opening your entire luggage.
Yeah.
So we just took that small bag and they asked like, what food do we have? So we said, do you have beef? And like, no, pork. Oh yes, we do.
Yeah, the thing is, I think we probably misread the website. Our understanding was no fresh meat, and what we bought was bakwa, which is basically kind of like if you're familiar with bakwa, it is kind of like pork jerky in a sense. So we thought, and it was sealed.
Yeah, it was sealed.
So we thought it'd be okay, kind of like Australia, but apparently not. So we lost all of that. So if you are thinking of bringing food, things like coffee, chocolates, those are all fine, but
dried fish apparently is okay.
Dried fish is okay.
Yeah, the lady said that. So
dried
next
fish is
time,
okay. Yeah. All right. Well, so there you go. Go and check the immigration website. Make sure you know what you can bring, what you can't bring. But anyway, after that, we went to another counter where we get our swab test, and that was actually pretty quick.
Fast.
That was really fast because we've already, like, most of the crowd had already left because we took so long to get our permits.
And there were so many counters, and they were so
There were
helpful.
about 15 counters. Everyone was really nice. And the swab test was a lot less painful than the one we had in Singapore. The one in Singapore, the doctor basically jabbed it in, like flicked it around, took it out. This time, they didn't even go all the way in. It was just like inside the nostril.
It was ticklish.
Yeah, it was extremely ticklish. I was just trying my best not to sneeze at the poor lady. So they would like, swab your nose for about... they swab your cheek first to get it wet, and then they would swab your nostril for 15 seconds. Yeah, both sides for 15 seconds each. After that's done, you get a home kit. Where on the 10th day, was it 10th day? Or?
For us, it's on the 8th day. So
8th day, all right. So on the 8th day, you need to do your own test in the hotel where you're quarantining, and then you submit the results. Or do we send it over? I'm not quite sure.
Every day they arrive has instructions on what to do. So we assume that on day 8 we would get instructions.
Yeah. We will upload another video talking about that so you guys know what we went through. But after that, then we went to an area to let them know that we are ready to be received by the shuttle. So we called the hotel, and then they came about 20 minutes later and then brought us to the hotel.
In terms of calling, we didn't have a Canadian number, so there's a phone. What do you call it?
So it's specifically for Vancouver Airport, when in the waiting area for your shuttle, there is a phone there. Yeah, I do find it weird where they ask you to make all these calls, but they don't allow you to buy a Canadian SIM card. I don't know why. They should at least, sort of allow that or have a counter where we could buy a SIM card, but they don't. So
did you have to pay?
No.
Oh, okay,
we didn't.
that's cool.
So it was just a phone call. So luckily they have a phone there. So just call your shuttle, and you need to arrange a shuttle. You're not allowed to go to your quarantine hotel by yourself, all right? For Vancouver, you need to call. The hotel will come and pick you up. So we arrived. First day was super tiring. We got here, we were hungry because by the time we arrived it was 4, and throughout the lunchtime we couldn't because we were stuck in immigration. So we ordered
4:30.
We ordered food.
Showered and then dinner was supposed to be 6:30, and by 5:30 we were ready. Like we've showered, we're just waiting for food, but we couldn't wait anymore.
So I gave up. So I ordered this thing called Japadog, which was actually really nice. So
I had a bite from that, and then after that we just left.
So if you want to know like the different foods that we've eaten, go check out our Instagram. We have videos to show what the quarantine food looks like. But I think that's about it. We will create another video for our last leg, which is from Vancouver to Calgary to where we are staying, which is the Residence Inn. Almost there. The hotel here is okay. I would just say okay. It's a bit aged. Executive Hotel, Vancouver Airport. It's a bit aged. The aircon is a bit erratic. Sometimes it's too warm. Sometimes it's cold. I don't know why.
I remember on our first day, we felt like we didn't leave Singapore.
Because it was so warm.
Everywhere from Changi Airport to Korea to the airplane.
Like all the airports as well, they reduced the air conditioning because it's so little people. So it was warm. And we haven't left the room since. But another thing is, once you get your test, results. So we got it. We actually got it on the first day, even though they are required you to stay 3 days. I think that's just a in case it gets delayed. But we got it on the same day. And then once you get your negative result, you are allowed outdoor leisure time. All right, and where you can go depends on the hotel. So we called the hotel, and they said that we could go to the rooftop garden. All right, we need to call them, let them know what time, and then we'll go up. We'll be going there soon. We'll do another video, either here or on Instagram. I'm not quite sure, but yeah, I think that's it. In a couple of days, we will leave the hotel. We will go back to the airport, and then we will
Another flight.
Yes,
Yeah.
but that's only an hour and a half, so that's fine. I wasn't worried about the hotel. There was the immigration that was a pain. Not a pain, but really just draining. And
And also like because we had large luggages, so it's, I mean, physically taxing. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
he did most of the job.
All right, but anyway, that's it for now. We will post our last leg of our trip to Calgary in a few days. All right, take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.